Self-esteem. Is it a quality where some people have it and some people don't? Some people are born with it and some aren't? Today we're going to learn from Rabbi Zelig Pliskin the beauty of self-esteem in marriage, in his book, Marriage. Self-esteem, he describes, is not a quality that shows whether you have it or not. It's basically existing within a range. It is a matter of degrees along a continuum. So most people have a high level of self-esteem when everything is going right in their life. And it's very easy to have a low self-esteem when you're feeling down, when you have failed in something, when you have made a mistake, when things aren't going well for you. It's really common to feel this way. However, our self-esteem is our right since we are born, just because we have this intrinsic worth. Everyone has intrinsic value, and you are so special for just being you. And despite external factors, meaning despite what's happening outside your life, how people treat you, what happens in your life, the many mistakes you have made, you are pure and you have intrinsic eternal worth. Now, sometimes in a marriage, we may feel low self-esteem and we may feel high levels of self-esteem. So I hope to share with you some ideas regarding low self-esteem in marriage and how to acquire high and healthy self-esteem. Now, the goal is to feel high level of self-esteem despite making mistakes, high and healthy self-esteem, and maintaining a level of humility, maintaining a level of humbleness, that you are humble, that when you make a mistake in your marriage, you work it out, you make a new start, and you move on. You don't beat yourself up every day over your mistake. You make a new start, you forgive yourself because you weren't meant to be perfect in the first place. So give yourself that gift of making a new start, forgiving yourself because you're human, and rising above your challenge. So I want to give you point number one. When you have low self-esteem in marriage, a person feels really down. A person feels unhappy. Nothing really makes them happy. Even when the spouse apologizes, you still aren't happy. In marriage, if a spouse criticizes respectfully, the person is still depressed. The person isn't satisfied. So low self-esteem causes lack of joy in a marriage. When a person has a positive self-image, you are happy because you're valuable and you're happy to be alive. The foundation for living a joyous life is having a healthy sense of self-esteem. Feeling inferior and becoming upset when someone points out your faults is not something that enhances a positive self-image. Next pointer is that I'd like to share with you is over response to flattery or disbelief of sincere praise. In other words, if someone praises you, if your husband praises you, you're so overwhelmed with the praise. Really? I really made this delicious meal. You really liked it. I worked so hard. Really? What did you like about it? And I mean, it's nothing wrong with that, but if you're overwhelmed by it constantly, it may show feelings of low self-esteem. Or disbelief of sincere praise, like you don't believe the compliment. You want more details. You want more proof. So feeling lowly about yourself, and the person that doesn't believe that this could be true, does not believe the spouse's statements about him or her, constantly says, "Really? Are you sure?" and tries to beg for more details. So a positive self-image is where the person appreciates sincere praise. So when a spouse compliments you, you're really grateful for that, and you're happy, and you want to please that spouse even more. If a spouse does not give you sincere praise, you give them credit for trying. So we want to do that in our marriage to have a positive self-image. The next pointer is having a hypercritical attitude. You're basically constantly criticizing your spouse for every little thing that they do and nitpicking them. So You also feel that you have to be perfect, or you have to be viewed by others as a really amazing person, and you want to make sure that your husband is seen as a really amazing person, and you nitpick everything he does so that he's viewed by others in a positive way, because that will reflect on you. So that shouldn't be happening for a person who has healthy and high self-esteem, because you are not your husband. So your husband is his own independent self. He's not you. So his qualities aren't yours. So if he has negative qualities, that has nothing to do with you. You're happy with who you are. You're independent of these external factors. So positive self-image is where you rarely criticize, and you have your own independent sense of self-worth, and which is independent of how anyone views your spouse. You know how to criticize carefully and tactfully. The next idea I wanted to share with you is this person tends to be secluded, does not like to be around people because is afraid to be judged, is afraid to be criticized. A healthy sense of self-worth is when if you are a private person, you know when to be private. And when you're in a large crowd, you may prefer to be still alone, but you know when it is appropriate to be socializing with others. In other words, you're not afraid to expose yourself. You're not afraid to share yourself. So it's really, really important. The next idea is a tendency toward boasting and status seeking. You have a tendency where you constantly want to show yourself off, where you make up stories about yourself to make yourself seem great so that you can receive that compliment. And it may not necessarily be true. It may be just an illusion. They do not value themselves sufficiently. When you seek a certain status, a person with low self-esteem will do things to gain status, while another person with high self-esteem doing the same thing is doing it for an elevated purpose. So let's say a person is donating a lot of money. You could still donate a lot of money, but you don't have to have your name be known, for example. You're doing it for a higher purpose, while a person who will donate a lot of money will probably do it so that they want to be seen as great. They want to be honored. So in this case, if a person needs to be untruthful to feel good about themselves, their self-esteem needs a boost. The next idea I wanted to share was that the person complains that others don't treat them with respect. So you may treat your spouse with respect, but you want the same thing in return. And when we have expectations, what happens is we often become disappointed. So anything that our spouse does for us is a plus. Yes, we can tell our spouse at the right time, using the right words, when we're calm, what we like, but that doesn't mean that we're going to get that respect in the same way that we want it to. So person with a positive self-image respects themselves and others, and in this way other people will respect them as well. It's just a reflection. The way you treat others is how you will get treated in return. The last thought I wanted to share with you is their tolerance for unacceptable behavior. The person feels so lowly about themselves that, let's say, God forbid, that their spouse is abusive. So they confirm this about themselves. Oh, I'm not so great. So the spouse is abusing me because this is justifying my bad self-image about myself, my low self-esteem. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the person with a positive self-image has strength of character to stop others from treating them inappropriately. This is very important to know, because most of these, the pointers that I've been mentioning is for a healthy marriage, not an abusive marriage. If a person has an abusive marriage, God forbid, please get help, outside help. And a person should not be in an abusive marriage. I hope these ideas were helpful. May we merit to value our intrinsic worth, independent of external factors. Leah Abramov, Being and Becoming.